how we actually met. We were together on the board of directors of a company called SMI that we successfully exited to Intel at $300 million. And we have stayed ever in touch. I always admired his thinking, his deep insights, and he followed my invite to be here, my keynote interview guest today. And Marco, what is your role at Samsung?
Yeah, so actually it's a double role. One is operational one related to our semiconductor foundry business, which is a very large business worldwide, and we take almost half of that here in the US. And we have, of course, fabs in Texas, Austin. We have the largest semiconductor manufacturing facility, which is roughly 100,000 wafer per month in Texas, already existing, mostly 14 nanometer, 1.4. But we're also now building very well. I think there will be a similar outcome in a lot of AI. And I think, again, we're very far away from a startup that really has solved even the issue of AI from an hardware point of view. I admire Jensen, I admire his leather jacket, but we are very far away from saying that NVIDIA is the solution for AI from an hardware perspective, not even close. What are really the startup and what they're doing. Of course, we try to stay ahead and learn which startup are coming out. And now, of course, in AI, every week there is a plethora of startup between hardware and software are coming out. So we try to stay ahead of the curve. And the team really helps because, it's really the relationship, the reputation that we have help us really to get access to the company we want to.
So, in the last 12 investments, what was the shortest time you were able to push it through, and what was the longest time?
There is no short time in corporate venture. It just doesn't exist. So the issue is not how long, the issue is that how early we intersect the startup, right? So the job in corporate venture for me, it's knowing that the decision making or decision process in corporate is longer. How early are you able to intersect the startup? And that really comes from knowing which are the most attractive startup out there. I have an unfair advantage, which is I see the silicon and I can compare silicon. And even if silicon doesn't come to me, Samsung has a platform that allows us to have a lot of information about the quality really of the hardware if we do semiconductor investment. And so that gives me really a perspective of what are high quality team on a startup perspective, which team really designed first time right, and they have really high quality silicon coming out. But really the art is knowing that the process is very long, intersect the startup area.
And health tech and other areas in a very big way. So we have roped in someone who's a builder of US-Japan Silicon Valley ecosystem for almost 20 years, Miyoko Oki of Serending, who is helping us build the bridge between the CVC world of Japan and Silicon Valley. So Miyoko, we are great honor to have you. Some opening remarks for you as well.
Thank you, José. Yeah, my name is Miyoko Oki. I'm just joined Pitch Global this past July. So as a EIL Japan. So what I do with the Pitch Global is that I just support Pitch Global to expand the network with Japan business and Japan venture community. So a little bit about myself. I'm Japanese, so I came here from Japan 24 years ago. I've been living here for the last 20 years.
Pitch to CVCs and other investors. And also, last year, we merged our larger conferences with Alliance Indus Foundation, where I have joined as secretary and board member. And the founders, the Alliance Indus is a very unique opportunity to meet head of states, governments, policymakers. I'll just give two brief outcomes of our events and pass on the floor to Axel. Now, last year, there was one company who presented with us, Patty White, CEO of Hemmings Health, who has raised 28 million. Then she went on delegation to Gujarat, where she's getting an award from the Chief Minister. And there also Alliance Indus was inaugurated in Saudi Arabia and in the US Embassy. And you can see all the flags and all behind. And they loved it so much. One of the biggest funds in Saudi Arabia, Saudi Vision Fund, relocated their 100% owned subsidiary, Data Vault, to San Francisco. The Treasurer of State of California was there, and she really loved that we created jobs for San Francisco. They have hired a bunch of people from MIT, and we expect to host sovereign events there as well. So on that note, I hand over the floor to Axel Tillmann, CEO of Pitch Global CVC Accelerator, first CVC accelerator ever, backed long-term by funding and mentoring agencies of CalGov's Office of Economic Development. On that note, Axel, floor is yours, brother.
Always in life, there is a triggering moment for an idea. And the CVC Accelerator was actually born almost by accident, right? Actually, there are no accidents in life. Rico came to us and asked us to help with a non-essential business spin-out, which was in the medical industry, after which they have figured out that the original idea to keep it inside the corporate doesn't work. So we brought in another partner of Eins, we call him Mr. 100,000X, and he and I went in and actually did the presentation, and we got basically the contract to actually help with the spin out, which is nothing else than another startup company, right? We had to go through all the necessary details, management team, presentation, and we did this successfully.
I want to interrupt because no one will believe that, but Robert Winter was one of the early investors in NVIDIA. And 7 years ago, we were doing programs, how we made 10,000x ROI 7 years ago. And now that has become 10 times more. So what he's saying, and we are saying, is correct. All right.
So our vision for the CVC Accelerator is basically a two-sided marketplace. We intend to go forward, and we have already launched and successfully concluded one CVC Accelerator for startup companies, in which we were teaching the basic principles, how to interact with CVCs. You heard earlier in my interview, the mindset is different, your presentation skills have to be different, and you need to know how you address them. But on the other hand, we have done a lot of research. Our interaction with a lot of CVCs has determined that there are a lot of missing factors that they wish would be solved. So on that end, we are also launching today a CVC Accelerator that will actually address all the necessary details. So why we are doing this, and you see we have had in our interactions, this is our 6th CVC summit. We had a lot of corporates with us. We drew a lot of experience from there. And we want to roll out a membership also for corporate venture capital. What does this give you? Number one, you get your own space on our web interface, which is powered by Mighty Networks, and you will be able to actually get your complete presentation. You can actually bring out there what are your investment thesis and what are the particulars that you're looking for. Second, we give you 2 of your portfolio companies can be on the other side of the two-sided marketplace, presenting themselves in their own space. And we allow you to actually send companies into our CVC cohort, especially those you might be interested in investing in, but you think they are not mature enough. So that's what we create. We are creating companies that are mature with an investment product and a corporate story that will actually catch your interest. And the phase 2 will be that we allow together to create new leadership principles in which we will talk about what are your pain points. We can share among ourselves how to potentially solve the pain points. We have done a lot of research. I just talked to Marco when he went out, and Samsung is probably a very good example of the most complex CVC to get approval for investment. He was laughing at the question, how early can you actually make anything like this? The spectrum goes actually a wide range. So we will talk about best practices, and this includes actually how to assess a portfolio company's sales funnel or business development funnel. How do you actually express your investment thesis in such a way that you can actually get quicker approval from the board, or maybe be able to actually avoid board approval? And one of the ways we see this is a mathematical formula that we developed and that we're going to continue to develop, by which once that is discussed on the board level, I will think you will get automatic approval at a certain threshold level that we can do. Pipeline assessment tool, I talked about this. We will teach how to actually assess corporate value from a startup company, how their sales funnel is, how their business development funnel is. We show you where the pitfalls are between the entrepreneur's dreams and the reality that you need to know to make actually an investment decision. Yeah, and we have the other side. Startups can also inquire how to become part of the other side of the CVC Accelerator. And I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to speak to everybody.
Thank you. And this person has had 12 IPOs and has stadium named after him in Stanford, and he is going to introduce one of his portfolio companies, the first company. So it's our great pleasure to introduce Laird Kagan, huge supporter of our ecosystem. All right, so just if you want to say something more about yourself, please do that. Like you're part of Band of Angels and other things, then introduce your company.
Sure. Stanford Business School, Goldman Sachs, Drexel Burnham, doing large deal M&A transactions in New York and Los Angeles. Drexel decided to blow up in 1990, so at that point I went off and started investing in early stage high growth companies, helping them raise capital. As Casey mentioned, I had about $3 billion that have gone into those companies. I've always been on the company side as a principal, never a fund. And 12 of those we've taken public, a lot in the infrastructure space. And I've been attracted to a lot of different areas. I've been entrepreneurial, and without a fund, I can pursue a lot of different things. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce ACI Materials. I got involved with them about 8 years ago, early in their situation, and was fascinated by them. They're a material science company. They're based in Santa Barbara, which is outside the UC Santa Barbara, which has a very strong material science curriculum. And what I like about this particular company, it has developed a technology, patented technology, to make certain materials more homogeneous than anybody else in the world can do. And they can do certain things with those and lead to applications in markets that are multi-billion in size, and enables some markets that don't exist in the printed circuit board world. They have high margins. It's not capital intensive. They can make machines that can have 20 times the revenue of the cost of the machine at high margins. And I'm excited about it. I'm going to introduce Marshall, who's a co-founder, to take you through those. Thank you.
I'll show the mic.
I don't know if you'll need it.
Can you hear me if I talk like this? Is that fine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mics aren't working that well.
So thank you. So as Laird said, we have a technology that allows us to essentially mix materials better than anybody else in the world. That's patented, 5 international patent families, 31 international patents. So what we're displaying here today, which you can see, that is a flexible printed circuit that is additively manufactured, as opposed to the etched copper subtractive process that we have on all of the devices that we're all carrying here today. So people in the industry who have referred to it as game-changing technology. Game-changing because it allows you to get...
Company who comes to Pitch Global can be a winner. On the other hand, you need judgment, which is a higher faculty of the mind. So this is for your own rating. We don't collect them, you rate them, and I would also tell every presenters to also judge others. So when you do that, then it'll give you deeper insight of how others are judging you. So on that note, I'm just going to start passing this.
Associate General Counsel, working on a lot of their cross-border investments.
Yosuke Kamimura, the pleasure to be here. And I'm from Zeon Ventures. Zeon is a Japan-based chemical material companies, and Zeon Ventures are 2 years old, very new fund, and we've been investing in the climate tech, energy, new material, and my background is immunology. I was a postdoc at the UCSF and some background in biotech companies, antibody drug discovery, development, financial and strategic. Always. Even the one companies, over the 10 years, sometimes they more towards financial return, more towards
ROI versus maybe disruptive tech, which can be useful for other purposes.
Yeah, so to be honest, we're really not balancing anything. We always have one of the business units come in, and then they kind of talk about, how they're going to work, how they've been working with the startup, what they want to do in the future, that kind of thing. So, we of course try to do the DD thing, but nobody could even if they see BS or PL, they don't understand, right? Because they're.
I'm a partner of ITC Venture Capital, which is a corporate venture capital of Itochu Corporation in Japan. So I would say everyone knows Itochu in Japan as long as you work in Japan. So that is a very big conglomerate company, like a trading company. Because of that, we have over 8 companies under the Itochu hood. And then we do commerce, and also medical, healthcare, enterprise IT, many things. But if I can choose some of them to, that we are focusing on is enterprise IT, like AI or security. Also, we are focusing on defense tech, medical tech, and also food or something. So my background is I worked for one of tech company. I was an engineer many long years, and then I turned to my career to this corporate venture capital because I'm still interested in technology, especially AI or something. So I'm very happy to see you here. Yeah, thank you.
Companies, it's a Japanese startup. It's called Asene. Asene means tomorrow's energy, right? So the Asene is established in 5 years ago, but they grew pretty quick. So most of the Japanese companies know this company, this startup already. Then they expanded the business in Singapore. Then now they just conquered the U.S. market. Then Ichiro he's in charge of the U.S. market.
And Raymond, can you talk?
Early stage investments with startups. Sweet spot is A to B into things, mobility, of course, but the last 2 years or so, we're starting to look a lot more on the climate tech side as well.
Returns, but obviously also for strategic returns, if you will. But mainly, thematically, your partners is the CVC arm, the corporate venturing arm of National Grid, which is.
Raghu, I wanted to ask you. You talked about electrification, and you're in a very specific industry, but where do you see the best deals? Is it in decarbonization, electrification? Is it circular supply chain, advanced manufacturing? I made up these categories because I like them, but you're free to comment on where you're seeing good deals.
Yeah, if you know the answer, let me know.
I have my short list.
I think to some of the themes that were discussed, we are investing for returns as much as we are investing for strategic reasons. So it's almost like if it's a 50 plus portfolio company portfolio. Mainly around energy transition, but also half the.
To know how you guys think about that. What does it really mean? I was asked to talk about the intersection of climate and mobility. What do you think that really means?
I think climate's become, at least everybody who's lived through the climate 1.0 cycle, it's almost become a 4-letter word. So I think
clean tech.
Maybe better way to look at it is energy transition as opposed to climate. At least that's how we are looking at it. And you know, we all drive EVs. We have solar on the roof. There's potentially some battery. So
investment for climate tech, right? This is not just cars, not just construction, heavy
Right.
machinery, but also bios,
Sure.
you know, materials. All these things start coming up a lot these days. So I think for investing in the climate.